Issa, I'm not sure if you saw the signs when you walked onto set today about the snakes.
No.
There's snakes in the vicinity, and I just want to say, generally, I pride myself on being a good host, but if I see a snake, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
You're on your own.
I do not play with snakes. That is disgusting.
Now you're about to release season 2 of Insecure on HBO, which is amazing. So there's an entire generation of girls who are going to grow up watching you show them more dynamic images of Black women and women of color on TV, which is incredible. What women did you grow up watching on TV that shaped the way you grew up?
I grew up watching Vanessa and Rudy on The Cosby Show. I grew up watching Laura on Family Matters. Moesha, Brandy as Moesha. Gina Prince Bywood, I always say, inspired me just via loving basketball.
And Girlfriends, I know you're definitely
Huge,
a big fan
love
of.
Mara and what she did and just the entire cast. I had a lot of Black women to kind of aspire to for just in my childhood to be like, oh, I want to be like her, look like her, in music and in television.
And now you're that person for a whole generation, which is pretty amazing.
I don't think about that, but that's crazy. If that's the case, I feel sorry for them.
Well, you're not supposed to think about it. You're supposed to keep working. HBO seems like they were really into the idea of you and your best friend Molly being the lead characters and following that friendship. How do we see that friendship develop in season 2?
So the friendship between Molly, what I love about it is that they tend to call each other on their shit. Sometimes when it's necessary, sometimes they wait a little too late, but they'll do it nonetheless, and they do it to make each other better. And so this season, you'll see them kind of calling each other to the carpet in terms of being honest with each other, because last season they let a lot of stuff build. So when we come in this season, they're like, look, we're being honest with each other. We have a trigger word that is to make sure that we're honest at all times. And so we're going to see how that plays out throughout the season.
Have you enjoyed writing that storyline, and does it reflect your real life friendships?
So much. I love writing any Issa and Molly scenes. I love that they're there for each other and their friendship is real. It's not all flowers and roses. Like, they're not out to get each other. They're not conniving and out to steal each other's men. They love each other genuinely. It's like a friendship. I mean, it's a sisterhood, if anything. And yeah, that definitely reflects like my own personal friendships. My friends are like some of my sisters. We know each other in and out, and we also know each other's flaws, and we'll call them out or work around them, but you know, we love each other, flaws and all.
I think one of the most powerful things about the show that you said is like, you're not trying to tell the story of every Black woman, right? That would be completely ridiculous.
Impossible.
Exactly, you're telling the story of these characters, but I think it's also cool that you've tried to hire a lot of staff of color to work behind the scenes. So Melina Matsukis, we know her for directing incredible music videos for Beyonce and Rihanna, but I think her first time directing for TV was working on your show. It seems like you guys have developed such a tight relationship, and I'm curious how that synergy bleeds over into the show.
I'm so glad that they allowed us to take a risk with her, because she's just killed it. And even when she came in for the interview, it was just like we were all speaking the same language, me, Prentice, and her, you know, these 3 Black people talking about the Black cultural elements that we wanted to include in the show without having to explain, just knowing like, oh, you get it. And when the biggest battle is like, oh, I want to make this more basic and you want to make it more elevated, I say we have a great relationship. And you know, when she got the job, we went to Matsuhiya, which is her favorite bougie sushi spot. You know, we're drinking and just getting to know each other. And since then, like, we have developed a friendship where we kind of call each other out just in terms of trying to make the best show possible. She may feel attacked. Like, I feel like your wardrobe is too basic. Like, I just give me some product, give me some whatever, designers that I don't know. But I just love what she brings to the table, because she has an eye that none of us have, and just really brings a unique, special quality to the show.
What's extra amazing about it is, so you've explained that it was not easy hiring the people that you wanted for the show. The studio will always say they don't have enough experience, etc. But after she worked on Insecure, she's now directing episodes of Master of None. It's like your vision is unfolding pretty quickly.
It's amazing. It's just like you give someone an opportunity and if they knock it out of the park, other doors will open. And then it's crazy because other people will just jump on board. But it's like all they needed was a chance. And that's the biggest catch-22 of the situation of just trying to work in Hollywood, trying to hire younger writers, trying to hire people who aren't in the union, who aren't experienced. It's like they'll never get those opportunities if they don't get a chance. And some people get a chance and blow it. Okay, but at least they got one.
Did the staff actually roll over from season 1, or did you have an easier time if you wanted to hire more people of color this time? Was it easier?
We definitely had more of a say, and we had more of a sense of what we needed. Television was new to me, so the entire dynamics of the crew, like even who to hire, I was like, there's so many damn people here. It was more about me learning, like, okay, how does this operate? What do I need? What vision am I looking for? Who understands it best? And so now understanding that in season 2, we were able to sort of troubleshoot to be like, what worked and what didn't, and now get a better sense of who we can hire as a result. Happy to say that if you go on set, you'll see that there's just all kinds of people from different backgrounds working every job.
I mean, I can definitely imagine it's a huge learning curve going from YouTube to TV. So our background, I work on YouTube, and it's, for better or worse, when you put something out, you have instant feedback.
Yes.
You know if people love it
Yes.
or hate it.
Yes.
What was the hardest thing, or some of the lessons you learned while being in development for TV?
Waiting is so hard. I mean, the benefit of YouTube, like you said, is the instant feedback, and that you can like have an idea and just put it out immediately and get the instant gratification. And I think for me, the hardest part was being like, I could put this shit out now. Like, what's the problem? But then it forces you to hone it and to make it the best possible. I feel like everything happened for a reason, and the timing was perfect.
So then, was it easier to do season 2 because you're continuing the storyline? You didn't have to dig deep inside yourself, or how did that work this time around?
Once we did the pilot and I knew what kind of show that I wanted to do, and then of course Prentice and I, the new showrunner, having conversations with him, we kind of operate the same way. Like, he's all about making sure we live life so that we have those stories to tell. And in the writers, when we mine a lot of people's experiences to make a relatable, like, real show. Once the characters were down pat, and once I tapped into, kind of what I wanted to say and what the core was, it's always harder to come up with stories just to make everything coherent because you're making something serial. But I know this world, and I know these people, and the root of a lot of the decisions that they make. So it's exciting more than anything. And there's nothing more satisfying than breaking a story and being like, oh shit, okay, we're gonna see where it's gonna go from here. When
you're watching the show, it always feels like this is a moment you could be having with your friends. For example, the way you guys address mental health in therapy had me dying. Molly getting so pissed off at you that you would even suggest that, how do you make those moments feel so natural?
Just in conversations, like the writer's room feels like, a dinner party without the dinner, and without the lateness of it, I guess. Whatever. It just feels like, we're having these conversations with people just about our personal lives. It starts during the day, like, what'd you do this weekend? Or what's going on with that guy or girl you were talking to? And sharing those personal stories. But I think even with something like the mental health story, that's just something that, culturally we know about a lot of our people. And, sometimes we use religion to cover up, what's going on inside. Like, just pray on it. Just pray that this depression will go away. And no, you should really, like, go get treated, or you should talk to someone. And even with the Jared storyline, where he dabbled in experimenting with a guy.
Yeah, that was another very relatable one, especially in hip hop culture.
Oh, right.
Still not something that's accepted.
Not at all. Like, Lil Uzi gets a lot of flack currently
for wearing a good shirt. I thought he looked great, for the record. I love his outfit.
Well, that's just something that we want to have those real discussions, and we don't want to take a side either way, because nobody really does take a side, except for you. You said you like the shirt, so you approve. But I mean, it's just those conversation topics to have outside of the show are great. I saw so many people being like, would I date a dude who would mess with another dude post that show? And I was like, yes, progress. But that was something that was a hot topic in the room. And then we realized, like, generationally, it wasn't necessarily consistent. We weren't all on the same page between, Black women and white women, between gay and straight, between, older and younger. And I find that kind of stuff fascinating and fun to address and talk about.
So is anyone gonna wear a male romper in season 2, or you had to know that was coming?
Our costume designer, I don't know, she's gotta be for that. I've seen some men look great in rompers. I don't know if Jay Ellis would be down to. He's tall.
I think he could do it, though.
Could do rompers?
Sure.
Romp-hims?
I just don't know what the scene would be, but that's your creative genius. I'm just here to throw out a suggestion. So who would be your candidate for wearing the male romper in season 2? Are there going to be new characters, or is this someone we know already?
There will be new characters. So I think one of our new characters could rock a romper. Because I don't know, I don't think that rompers work on tall men.
They have to be short.
They have to be like average height. And we have a lot of tall men on our show.
So maybe you should consider casting someone average.
You're
Look,
right.
it doesn't have to be a romper. He could wear other things.
Like what?
Like if you want to look at Young Thug for inspiration, for example, layered dresses could
I don't
really
think we're
bring
bold
out his
enough.
figure.
We're real. Like a Young Thug can't just walk in the street and pass by. I don't know if we're there yet. Maybe another show we could look for Young Thug as inspiration in the Uzis of the world. But
Yeah, we don't have to force it. It's cool.
yeah,
Just an idea.
Thank you. Thank you for your creative inspiration.
So I know you don't want this series to be very long and drawn out. We're not going to see 10 or 15 seasons. How many seasons are you thinking to wrap up this storyline in a way you would be happy with it?
I would be killed if I said what I thought, but they won't be long. I have an idea, but again, I still don't know exactly where the story ends. I know I want them to end up like mentally, but I'm not sure yet.
In all of our careers in entertainment, gatekeepers are always going to be there. So it seems like in college you realized because of YouTube, you could do what you want and put it on the internet and get instant feedback. The same with Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl. And I know some production companies were interested in the series for a while, but then when you spoke with them, they really wanted to change the concept entirely. So is this something you feel like you will be dealing with your entire career, or is it getting easier as you progress?
It definitely gets easier. After a while, people are like, what do you want to do? What can we make? How can we be in business with you? And then it's just a matter of not being an industry hoe and saying yes to everything. When the door is open, it is open wide, and everyone sort of wants a piece to say that they're like, oh, they have a part in this world. And so then it's a matter of not repeating yourself, because I never really want to just go make the same show over and over again. And I want to live life so I can have new experiences and new stories. And so while those opportunities are there, I don't think I'm ready mentally and life-wise yet to have a new project that I can stand behind firmly. And so that's also why I'm working with other people who I think are talented.
Right.
And I think it's wise, like when the door is open, to bring other people in it. And my stories aren't all great, other people's are. And so it's a matter of just putting that on the table for other people to see.
Just to backtrack for a second, you said something that really blew my mind, because this is a conversation I've had with friends, but never something I would say out loud, that you feel like in Hollywood specifically, there are a lot of racist old executives who have to just die for us to make progress. And it sounds really crazy, which is why I would never say it out loud, but I understand what you mean when you say that. So you can hire all the Black writers in the world and make progress, but if there are people up there who are just not having it, how far can we really go?
I'm happy to say that we're report that we're making progress. People are dying. Roger Ailes just died. He needed to go. It's great. So, I mean, as time goes on, obviously, like, unfortunately, we won't be able to take advantage of it like the younger generation, but it's happening. And I feel like there are people in positions of power who wouldn't have had an opportunity in the past that have opportunities now, and who have like a firm vision and are intent on hiring the people who haven't been hired in the past. So I'm very optimistic on that. Like, people die every day, so it's great.
I love that you say it with such a straight face. I'm sorry, I couldn't not laugh. I couldn't not do it. You never want to model your career exactly after anyone else, right? It doesn't make sense. You're inspired by them. You always want to carve your own path. Do you see yourself heading in the direction of a Shonda Rhimes, or do you see yourself wanting to act way more than you're producing content?
I mean, I love, it's cliche, but the Oprah model is just dope to me. She feels like she does a lot of work, but she plays a lot. She selects the roles that she's in. I love a mix of Oprah and Tina Fey. I love writing. I love being behind the scenes. I love producing more than I love being on screen. But if there's opportunities and parts that I relate to, then I'm down to play them. But the behind the scenes and even the business side, those excite me way more.
I know you have a lot on your plate, but I just want to throw this out there. You remember that you owe us a project with Rihanna and Lupita Nyong'o, right? Don't think Twitter forgot about this, Issa.
Oh man, yeah, that's very exciting. You know, the internet is a gift.
Don't try to curve me here. Don't try to curve me. So this really started with a photo of Rihanna and Lupita sitting front row at a fashion show, and someone wrote a funny comment. Rihanna looks like she scams rich white men. Lupita is a computer smart friend who helps her, and they nominated you as one of the people who can make this into a great film. And are you gonna do it for the culture, Issa? Come on.
I said I was gonna shoot my shot, and my shot hopefully will make the basket.
So back to season 2, I have to ask you about music. I've just been waiting this whole time to ask, because I know you're a big fan. I love your raps. Like, I think it's like in the first few episodes of Awkward Black Girl, you're like writing rhymes in your room and you're like, nah, it's just too Nicki Minaj. And then in Insecure, there's a Nicki Minaj pillow. It's so, are there any artists that you might want to have on the show this season? Like, I remember you tweeting that you were listening to Wale's new album and really feeling inspired while you were writing.
I loved, like, A Different World used to always have these cameos and unconventional guest stars where people weren't necessarily like famous or they got their start there. And I love the idea of doing that for our show. That's something Prentice and I talk about all the time, where we don't want to go like stunt cast people. But we had Jadena on last season. We had Ty Dolla $ign, who played himself but was still on it, and love the idea of breaking new talent but bringing in like musicians who are looking to break into acting in roles that aren't necessarily like themselves. So I think you see a little bit of that in season 2. Yes, you will see a little bit of
You just have to go back deep in your mind for a second.
Yes. And it's just, it's fun. I think this is a new experience for so many of us. Like you were mentioning earlier, Melina, this is her first TV directing debut. Prentice is his first television. He's show running. Me, it's my first television show. So to work with actors who it's new for them too is just so fun, and it feels like we're all going into this and growing together, and that's an aspect that I really love.
Just know that every time you Instagram a picture of Frank Ocean, I'm just expecting him to pop up somewhere along the way.
I wish if I could find him.
So is it too much to ask for you to drop a mixtape? I know you've got the bars. I know you know the people.
I don't have
What's the
bars.
problem, Issa?
I don't have the bars.
I've seen the shows. You can't lie right to my face.
They're trash raps. They're
but
like
you're trying to write trash raps. I'm sure you can write great ones if you really wanted to.
Thank you for that, the avowed confidence. I really appreciate that.
So no mixtape.
No. It is a fantasy to like be on stage and have people like knowing your lyrics. Like, I envy that. I just told an artist the other day, I was like, can we switch lives? Because I love the idea of just, you're on the stage and people know your every word that you wrote down. That's dope. And I know that I'll never have that. Like,
but
I'll
only
never
because you don't want to. That's the crazy thing is, no one would be shocked if you really dropped a project. At least an EP, 3 tracks. Come on, we're not asking for too much.
If I get tomatoes thrown on stage, I'm putting you as my shield. I just want you to know that.
I got you. I promise. I brought this up. Like, why wouldn't I?
Okay.
Is your mom gonna end up being in the season, and did you give her a speaking role like Melina said that you should?
She asked. I was like, you were in season 1 already. She got a speaking role as a potential donor in our fundraiser episode. And so then she asked me before this season shot, like, oh, so what am I gonna do this year? And I was like, Mom, you got your, like, you can't just pop up like live. You were. That's what everybody's saying. But she got a little. She was in a Mother's Day commercial for HBO. She didn't want to. She didn't want to say any of my vulgar lines, and that could have been her shot. So you can't like pick and choose in this industry. You gotta choose a lane, and she got her lane already.
Have you always had such a vulgar mouth?
No, not really, because my mom did put like parental controls. Like, I didn't go to see PG-13 movies until I was 13 and rated R movies until I was 17, and she was kind of strict about that. But I think once I discovered curse words, I just never looked back.
You definitely have a passion for them.
They punctuate things in a way that I can't do with just regular words. I feel very Trumpian in that way, in that I can like
Trumpian.
Like, my vocabulary is limited if I don't have curse words to help accentuate them.
I love it. I just think sometimes people, they give me shit about it, and I feel like we're gonna start cursing because we're not ladylike enough, but I love it. Even the titles of your episodes are so ridiculous. Like, is your mom still upset, or she just accepts it at this point?
She accepts it. She wishes that weren't the case, but she knows, like, she can't do anything about it now. So, and she still watches the show. I think if anything, she's a little bruised that her friends you know, can't watch and enjoy it the same way just because they're like, what's wrong with your daughter? Do a better job.
Just get her the edited version. HBO could hook you up, I'm sure.
I wish they would. Maybe that's a good idea, actually. Maybe they just get them clean versions of the show, like how Sex and the City aired on TBS and took out all the sex and the curse words, and it was a terrible show.
Okay, never mind. Scratch that one. But speaking of Trumpian vocabulary, has he inspired any of the writing in this show with his ridiculousness?
I just don't want his stench on our show. If people, because initially there was we got to do something. We got to make a statement. We got to have something that refers to him. If we're so lucky for people to watch our show in 20 years, I don't want them to think about Trump in any way, shape, or form. He's not going to be here for long anyway. I don't want that. I don't want the stink of him on the show, and I want people, if anything, this is an Obama administration show. It's like the result of him being in office, and I want people, for his legacy, to be like, when they look at what he brought to the culture, I want them to say that this show came, if he'll have it, this show came of him. And it bothers me that there's any association that we're airing during this time, but hopefully it provides an escape.
I really like to make goals lists, right?
Okay.
Every year, I do 1 to 2 months, 3, 6 a year, and they change. You have to go in every few months and update them. If you were sketching out a very rough draft of your goals list for the next year, what would be on there? Look, small things. Like I have 1 month, go to the gym 3 times a week or cancel your membership. I've canceled the membership. So it could be the tiniest
I love that you give yourself an order.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's genius. I want to goals within the year, you said, or the next 6 months?
They could be the smallest or the biggest goals.
I want to have a yacht party or be on a yacht. I want that.
Okay.
I want to travel to Latin America because I've never been there.
Oh.
I want to write a film.
These are great so far. You're doing incredible. You wanted to be friends with Sasha and Malia?
I do want to be friends with them. I do want to be friends with them, but I don't. Now that I put it out there, now it's creepy. Now I feel like I've taken out any coolness I may have had. I met Frank Ocean once, but it doesn't count as meeting.
Why?
It was because he was leaving a coffee shop and I was going in and I was like, I love you. And then he said, thank you. So that didn't really count.
So you have awkward fan moments too. I thought that was just normal people. I had the worst with Eminem one time. I was shaking. I didn't know what. I was like, you changed my life. Bye. And just got out of there. Skate.
Well, that's what I do too. I can't. I'm very much still starstruck. I will not go up to people and talk to them. I just admire from afar. So.
Okay. I love you.
That's all I have.